Hi, welcome to my channel. We're back here today with Gavin from Neatebox. This is the second film that I've done with Gavin. The first one was about something called Button, which was all about assisting people with a disability to cross the road using pedestrian crossings in a safer way. If you haven't seen that video and you're interested, there's a link there you can click on and go straight to that. Otherwise, keep watching because today I'm going to be talking to Gavin about something called Welcome, which is a customer services app and system which has been developed to help improve the experience that disabled people have when they visit organisations and businesses. So keep watching. Hi Gavin, thanks for welcoming me back to Edinburgh to talk about Welcome. I think I'd like to start, we spoke about in the last film what your history was and how you came to be inventing these wonderful apps and technology for disabled people. So we've covered that ground, but what I'm interested with Welcome, and we'll go on to talk about what Welcome is in a minute, is what you saw or heard or experienced in terms of the customer service experience disabled people had that made you think Welcome was necessary.
Yeah, well, great. Firstly, thank you very much indeed for having me back. It's an absolute pleasure. So Welcome. I was a guide dog mobility instructor for 18 years. I was in a unique position, really, in that when I was working with somebody with a guide dog, I would follow them around. Now, at the very start, you're on the person's shoulder, so you can let them know how they should interact with their dog in order for them to get better mobility. But later on in the training, you're actually stepping back. So you're watching from a distance, and then maybe after a 10-minute walk, you're then meeting the person at a curb edge and then talking to them about what they've just done. But of course, this involves going into shops, coming out of shops, etc. So what I did from a distance was observe how people interacted with my clients when they went into shops. And one of the most consistent things about that was the total lack of consistency in how somebody interacted with them. And I recognized this wasn't just a problem for my client, but it was also a problem for the customer service team. Quite obviously, if somebody's nervous, embarrassed, untrained, or just totally like a rabbit in headlights, it's really difficult for them to know what to do. And increasingly, we have more and more people with varying different conditions and disabilities who are needing better and better customer service. And that's the same for autism, cerebral palsy, hearing impairment, visual impairment, Parkinson's, you name it, any number of different conditions. How are we supposed to expect all customer service people to know about every single disability and how they should interact in every single circumstance, and then put into consideration that every single person is an individual? And I observed that from a distance, and for years I just went, well, there's no answer. All we can possibly do...
It's just rubbish.
Well, yeah, what can we do? The only thing we can do, and Henry Ford mentioned this, was if I'd asked them what they'd wanted, they would have said faster horses. This is reference to cars. Well, I realised that all that people would ever say was more staff training, more training, more training. But of course that wasn't working, because staff would leave, or staff would be inconsistent in how they were handling it, or the training wasn't completely all-encompassing. For whatever reason, more staff training was not enough.
So what's the solution then? What's Welcome that solves those problems?
So yeah, I think I mentioned before that we're using smartphones a lot, yes, and wearables, and we understand that not everybody has them, but increasingly people do. So we started looking at how we could use people's smartphones to communicate before they walk through the door. We wanted that communication to happen whilst the phone was in their pocket. So there's a bit of tech here, but it's simple tech. We geo-fenced buildings. We put a big ring around the building and using GPS, basically. So when somebody walked into that ring, a message went directly from their phone to the customer service team. And it gave them an awareness that somebody was going to walk through the door. Not just somebody, but we also gave them a photograph and a name and an overview of a condition that somebody would want them to know. Very generalized. So, meet somebody who's visually impaired, always introduce yourself. Never talk to their guide dog. If somebody's in a wheelchair, don't touch their wheelchair. If somebody is using walking sticks, offer them a seat. If somebody has a hearing impairment, make sure that the environment is such where they're not going to have a problem hearing you, if they can indeed hear at all.
Yeah.
So it's, how can I inform the customer service team before somebody walks through the door as to their exact and general need?
And so this is something that isn't just constantly on in your pocket and just happens to go on if you walk in the bank. You pre-book your visit.
Yeah. So we've got a list of loads of venues who have already signed up to use the service. And you can look on the app, which we'll talk about later as a download, but you can look on the app and it will tell you which businesses have already signed up. Of course, more and more businesses are joining us all the time, but it will tell you which ones have signed up. And then all you have to do is click that you're going there, put in roughly what time, it's normally like a 5-hour window, say what time you might be going, and then, well, because of the geofence, you don't have to say what time exactly, because they'll know when you're going to arrive because you hit the geofence. So say what time you're going, and say roughly what you want to achieve when you get there. Now, this could be anything, but it could be upgrade a phone, withdraw money, have a job interview, go for a pint, put a bet on in the booking office. Yes. But you could do anything at all in advance, or write that in as a personal message. But it could be something like, I have a real issue today on my right-hand side, so please talk on my left-hand side. Because today it's a bit different than it was yesterday. So those specific messages for the customer service teams. The one I love is somebody has a prosthetic limb and they give permission to the person in customer service to shake them by the hand if they can pluck up the courage, because we know it's not easy to do.
Yes.
But imagine being given that permission before you walk through the door.
Yeah.
So the customer service, 19-year-old person in their first job goes, John's coming to walk. He's going to walk through the door in a minute. He has a prosthetic right arm, but he has given me permission to put out my right hand, and we are going to shake hands.
Because I think we underestimate sometimes, once you've been immersed in the world of disability for whatever reason, as work or personal, I think over time you forget what it's like not to have that knowledge. We expect people to know how to handle it, to have the confidence. But we forget that actually, if you haven't lived in that world, that can be a really tough thing to do.
Yeah.
So like you say, you're giving permission, you're educating, you're just making it easier for both parties. And the training that you're giving, you're not going into every single business you sign up and standing in front of a room of customer service people and providing training. This is part of the app. It's part of the technology, isn't it?
Yeah, and I recognise that increasingly there are more and more consultants, advocates and consultants who travel around the country, and many of them are disabled themselves, who carry out training. And what we don't want to do is say that this is instead of training. What we're trying to do here is saying, get the training and here's your aid memoir. Yeah. This is the bit that helps the person remember what to do prior to somebody walking through the door.
Because the training, I think, can often be incredibly general, like disability, this is how you handle it, or can be terribly specific, like this is autism training. Yeah. And as you said earlier, there's so many different impairments that it would help, from a personal perspective, just being able to put in that, my son likes a high five instead of a handshake, or he might make a bit of noise, but that's him being happy and wanting to engage with you. That takes a lot of pressure off me as a mum, feeling a bit awkward when I go into a situation. You have to tell the story every time, and I don't have to tell a story if I put it in the app.
As soon as you said that to me a second ago, I just thought to myself, God, I hope I get the chance to meet Jenny's son one day, because I'll put my hand up like that. Yeah. Now that tiny bit of knowledge has made me, I've got goosebumps thinking about I would be in a position to actually go away from that relationship feeling a bit of a buzz.
Yeah, and you can make a connection much easier.
Oh, yeah. And what we're trying to do here, and underline this, is break down that initial barrier. We don't want to say to people, this is what you must do. What we want to do is say, this is how you can start a conversation, make a meeting of two people in the middle, and share a relationship. And using technology to improve human-to-human communication, that has got to be the most amazing thing for us to be able to do.
Absolutely. So I think we've probably sold the premise of the technology for sure. Tell me a little bit about the technology. So it's an app. Is that for iPhone and Android?
It's on iPhone and Android. It's a free download. Okay. It's called Welcome by Neatebox. Okay.
We'll put a link. Yeah. So free for the user, free for the individual, and costs covered by the organisation that you're signing up.
Yeah.
Can I be spontaneous? So, when I think about things like booking assistance when you're travelling by train, and you have to do it days before, and if you don't, you get short shrift from the staff. One of the things we're aiming for is to be able to be spontaneous and just go, do you know what, I think let's go out for a coffee today. What are the timings that are involved with welcome? Yeah,
so if I decide to go for a coffee, I just go out for a coffee. And that's equality. If I have the ability to provide a service where everybody can do that, that's my mission. Right now we're looking at 48 hours, reduced to 24 hours, hopefully industry standard come down to 12 hours. We have a 2-hour window. Okay. So we've now introduced a 2-hour window. So you can say that you're going somewhere in 2 hours. However, if a business is really, really good with this system, once they've got used to using it and their staff are competent, we've actually got a little box that they can tick that says unscheduled visits. If they tick that box, you don't have to plan. It means they don't get a message as to what you want to achieve, but when you walk through the door or when you get close to the beacon, they'll get a message to say that you have arrived, whether you have said you're going or not. Now, it might mean that they take a couple of minutes to have a quick read as to how best to interact with you, but that couple of minutes they take to have a read now means that you don't have the embarrassment of having to say, I have this condition, you should treat me in this way. Let's face it, if you went into most shops and said, I've got ataxia, the person would go, okay, what the blue blazes is that? Well, and my hand up here, in June I didn't know what ataxia was, and I spoke with Ataxia UK after visiting Neatebox, and we added them into the system. So we don't expect people to know stuff, but if you've got a couple of minutes to read very quickly, you can provide better service. And that little bit at the start could mean that you save 10 minutes trying to communicate, but it could also mean the person says, I'm now more comfortable going there.
And as part of the tech, I'm sort of visualizing businesses, organizations, shops that I would visit. How does that person in that organization, how are they aware moment to moment that you're coming or you're there or you've arrived? Have they got tech on themselves? Is there somebody who's got to be sitting in an office waiting for this to pop up? How's it working from their perspective?
Yeah, so there are 3 points of contact. 1 when you say you're going, 2 when you hit the geofence, 3 when you hit the beacon. At each point, they get a phone call, an email and a text message, or a choice of any one. Okay. Yeah. So let's say you're booking a visit, or you say you're going tomorrow to an office or a venue. They get an automated phone call to say somebody has booked. They get an email and they just click on our web server and it takes them straight through to the link. Now that is accessed on mobile phones, tablets, PCs, laptops, you name it. But in the future, we would very much hope that every single staff member will have a device that may or may not have an app on it that would do that for them. But right now it's a web server.
Okay. I know you're constantly growing and you're pulling more businesses and organizations in all the time. What if I, live some random town 70 miles away and I think this sounds great, my bank could do with this, or my local restaurant, it would be great. How do we go about letting you know that we want you to give them a call? Well,
that's possibly the most important question, because what I want more than anything, and I did when I worked for Guide Dogs, was the empowerment of people who are disabled by society. So if you download the app and you go into settings, you can actually request where you want this next. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight, but we get the request, or we get the request immediately, but we get the request and then we contact the venue that you have suggested and we say to them, we've had a request. We've had 10 requests, we've had 1,000 requests. Now, yes, it could take 1,000. Hopefully it won't, but it could also take 1. And a very best example of that was a chap went into House of Fraser. He wasn't served, he's visually impaired, he stood for 5 minutes, nobody came to him, he left, didn't spend a penny. He put in a request through the app. Within 4 months, we went live in House of Fraser. 1 request. So your listeners, family members, if they go to the app, go to settings, request a venue, share the app with friends, the more people we have requesting venues, the more chance we are that we can spread this. And we are live in the whole of the UK and the whole of Ireland, Northern Ireland and Southern Ireland.
Brilliant. Fascinating and really exciting venture. I'm really pleased to be part of learning about the story and hopefully promoting it a little bit. Although I don't think you need much assistance because things are going fantastically. You've recently won some awards and been nominated for awards. Tell me a bit more.
No, listen, I will always take the assistance. The more people who have joining us, the better.
Just tell us.
You're right. You're right. I mean, winning awards or being nominated for awards is big for us. We've got a couple of awards up here. You may or may not see them out of shot, but they mean nothing. They're paperweights. What we get when we get an award is something where we can promote. And just recently, we probably had the very best promotion you could ever hear. The Disability Smart Awards nominated us, or we got through the finals of Disability Smart. And we found out last Friday that we were up for an award for Technology Initiative of the Year. And then I found out who we were up against. Microsoft and Facebook. I'm going to take that.
Magic.
I've got to go to London on the 29th of November and actually sit there and wait to find out who's won. Now, come on. Microsoft are doing amazing work with some fantastic apps just now. Yeah. Just being mentioned alongside those amazing companies is amazing for us. But we're up an award against Microsoft and Facebook.
Magic. Well, best of luck with that. And I'm sure we'll hear about it through social media. So we'll like and share. Thank you so much, Gavin. And it's been a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.